This is Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, whatever you're listening on. iHeart, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple. We're on it all. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Mike Adams, creator of Legacy Battle. My panelists tonight, Ball State athlete Paul Havicott. From the Walker Report, Bradley Walker. From Steelers Nation South, Rollo Cawthon. We're joined tonight by a current professional soccer defenseman for Louisville City FC. Formerly played for the Chicago Fire, the Rochester Rhinos, and the Milwaukee Wave. I got him marked down with 35 career goals entering the 2023 season, 256 appearances. He's been named the USL All-League First Team in 2020, 2021, 2022, and coming soon, 2023. We got defenseman Sean Totsch here. Sean, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a good debate tonight. We're going to be debating the greatest U.S. men's born defender. And as always, we'll have a Q&A after for Sean about his career and the things he's been up to. And we're going to start out tonight with Paul.
Okay, I went Carlos Bocanegra. He had a very good college career with the UCLA Bruins, appearing in 43 matches and scoring 7 goals. In 2013, he was inducted in the UCLA Athletics Hall of Fame. Carlos then went 4th round in the MLS Super Draft, taken by the Chicago Fire. With that club, he developed into one of the very best defenders at that level. He was named MLS Rookie of the Year in 2000 and helped his team win the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. In both 2002 and 2003, he was named Defender of the Year, becoming the first MLS player to win the award multiple times. He then went to play for Fulham in the Premier League in 2004. He played 116 matches over the next 5 seasons. And this was kind of interesting. The fans and players, I guess, named him. It was the Fulham fans nicknamed him Jackal, the Jackal. Usually, when you have a nickname, it's pretty obvious why, but I could not find why they called him the Jackal. Or the second nickname was the Black Snake. So maybe Sean knows. I don't know, but that's not much of a nickname if I can't find why they called him that. But he spent the next 4 years in the French League, and then 3 more in the Scottish League before returning to MLS with the Chivas USA club in 2013 and 14. Chivas actually traded a first-round draft pick in order to have the opportunity to sign Carlos. In international play, he played for Team USA, won 2 golds, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. After his playing career ended, he became the vice president of Atlanta's MLS club, and he's also on the technical developmental committee for U.S. Soccer. In 2020, he was inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame, and that's Carlos.
So, yeah, he has one more nickname, Captain America, believe it or not.
Where'd you find that at?
That's just kind of his, I guess, let's call it international name. We'll go with that.
So why they call him the Jackal then?
That I don't know. I do not know.
Maybe just being like, feisty and small. I don't know.
It's all over, but they also said Black Snake too. It seems different things, I don't know.
Maybe he's a Samuel Jackson fan. I don't know. But Sean, let me come to you here. So with Carlos, he's known for his effort and his energy. Very high energy player. But what are your thoughts on him internationally? He is definitely well known out there for playing overseas a little bit too.
So I actually have a little bit of I don't know him personally, but have a personal bias to Carlos Bocanegra in this debate. So I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, Naperville and Oswego. So for fans of the Chicago Fire, there was 2 years, 2002, 2003, I think. The Fire played, they were between their stadium in Bridgeview and Soldier Field downtown, and they played 2 years at North Central College in downtown Naperville. And my dad was one of the people who helped signed on allowing the Fire to play there. So, I mean, they were literally playing games in my backyard almost, it felt like. So I had that proximity to see him play at North Central College, which was a really cool experience for me. And then I actually went on a trip to see him play at Fulham, Portsmouth. I want to say it was something like 2005, seeing him, Dempsey, and Brian McBride. I want to say all in the same field. So for like a group of American boys going to watch them play all at the same time at Craven's Cottage, he has a special place in my heart, in my soccer career, just because of those two personal connections.
Sounds like this debate's over. See you
Oh,
guys.
yeah, you started
That's
out
just
hot
fun.
here. This is it's done.
I was just about to say, Paul sounded pretty good here tonight. So,
Yeah.
what did you think of his play, like defensively? Did he have any holes that you noticed at all? Taking away your bias.
Yeah, that's the thing is you gotta set the bias up on the shelf away from it and put those things aside. Um, you know, I just think him being that energetic, feisty player, as you described, are things that everyone loves to see in a defender. And I think it's a little bit different era as far as where the game is at now versus where it was then. I mean, I think he was not, I couldn't point out any holes.
Well, let's go to who I think is probably the most famous American player of all time. Go ahead, Brad.
That would be Alexi Lalas. Lalas earned 96 caps for the U.S. national team between 1991 and 1998. He went on to start and play in all 90 minutes in the 4 U.S. games, the 1994 FIBA World Cup, and was named an honorable mention All-Star. He was named the 1995 U.S. Soccer Athlete of the Year. He has had a very wide foreign career. He was part of the United States Olympic soccer team. In Spain, he was also selected as an overage player on the 1996 Summer Olympics for Team USA. But I would have the one thing that I remember him for, and it may not be for his soccer career, there is a YouTube clip that you can watch of him getting very, very upset with the U.S. stars, telling that they need to step up. And if you get a chance to watch that YouTube clip, it's something I've never seen. Corresponding or announcers are not supposed to let their personal beliefs get into it, but Alexi let it all out and let everybody know how he felt about the U.S. stars at that time frame. But yeah, that's Alexi Lalas.
I do remember that. Sean, I don't remember any defenseman giving up the body more than Lawless did. What kind of physical toll does that do to a player?
Oh, I mean, that that's an incredible thing. Just the wear and tear. He did. I want to say have like a 9 or 10 year career. So, as far as a lot of the players, I don't think it's a good career, but it's not necessarily by any means the longest. And that could be a reason why. I think personally, I don't have a very like strong memory of him as a player. And I feel like his kind of outspoken commentary is kind of, overshadowed any of his accolades or on-field contributions he's made in the past. And I think it's one thing that's tough is just seeing how fast the game has changed from when he was a player to what it is now. I think it's pretty easy to be critical of players now when you're not considering what he had to do, and that it was a simpler style of play as a defender. A lot of the teams and American styles too, even then, are not necessarily possession oriented, and defenders were not really on the ball as much as they are now, and having to break lines and break pressure as well as the defensive responsibilities and maintaining possession. So I think anything that he says, that's kind of one of the first things that come to my mind, and that's one of the harder things just in general with some of the American legends, that it's how much the game's changed in you know, you see what a guy like Tim Ream's doing now, where he's having to, you know, do those defensive responsibilities, but you see how clean he is on the ball and, you know, breaking lines, dribbling. I think that's, you know, one of the traits that you don't necessarily see in some of the highlights that you see of, you know, players like Alexi Lalas.
You know, and it's funny you say that because we see guys like Lalas and Kobe Jones, like they'll make comments like that today, saying, you know, that these players, they need to pick it up today. But I grew up when they were in their prime. They weren't making it any further in the World Cup than what the guys do now for the U.S. So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I realized there wasn't a professional league back then. There wasn't MLS and that stuff. But I agree with you 100% on your comments there, Sean. So let's move on to our next player. Go ahead, Rollo.
George Edward Pope, better known as Eddie Pope, started his career at the University of North Carolina, where he started every single game of his college career. He was also an NCAA All-American in '94. He was also the Tar Heels place kicker his freshman year, but he decided to stop that and focus on soccer. It's a good thing he did. He played with 3 soccer clubs and was on the national team for 11 years. He was a 22-year-old rookie when he scored the game-winning goal in extra time in the first MLS Cup, giving DC United their first title. He also scored a memorable goal against Mexico in a friendly in stoppage time. So they wound up winning 1-0. He's in 3 MLS Cups, had 4 best 11 selections, and was on another for U.S. national team for 3 World Cups. He would be the MLS Defender of the Year in 1997. He was a starter for the national team at the 96 Olympics, and he went to the 2011 National Soccer Hall of Fame. He was voted 11th all-time on the Guardian's Best Soccer Players of All Time. He was 12th in the Bleacher Report U.S. Soccer Player of All Time, and 11th in the Sports Illustrated top soccer players of all time. All those, he was the #1 defender in all those categories. So give Eddie Pope his just due.
Tell me your thoughts on Eddie Pope, crafty defenseman. He is definitely a well-known name out there in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of the guys who, you know, a foundation of building the MLS into kind of what it is now. You know, he's a guy who I instantly think of like his earlier days with DC United and then the Metro Stars. So, I mean, he's a guy who I just feel like it is one of those players that, you know, you identify with really, you know, building the foundation of, you know, what it means to, you know, to being a professional soccer player in the United States and at a high level and consistently. And, you know, for any of us, that's what we aspire to do, is to not just to be there, but to do it as consistent as he did.
Defensively, he was the name for Team USA for a long time period there. So hats off to him. And we're going to move on to our final player here tonight. And his name is Balboa, but it's not this Balboa. So let's throw that out there. It's going to be Marcelo Balboa. He has the looks of Fabio, the long hair, the strong frame, and a total 1980s mustache that just probably sent the ladies crazy back in the day. So he played from 1987 to 2002. You know, that's a nice 15-year career for him. 235 caps. And for anyone who doesn't know what a cap is, if you're not real familiar with soccer, that just means appearances. He had 46 goals, and then internationally for the United States, he had another 128 caps and 13 goals. He was the first U.S. defender to play in 3 World Cups, and that's very meaningful because any soccer person knows the biggest stage is not the Olympics in soccer, it's the World Cup. And to have that claim here in the U.S. that he was the first to do that, I think is really just strong to make him your vote tonight. But 2005, he named the MLS all-time team. So not just, you know, 1 year, like the all-time team there. And then he's elected, of course, to the National Soccer Hall of Fame, first ballot election. 2000s, he scored the MS goal of the year with an amazing bicycle kick. I'm sure I'll find the clip and have it on here. That was just an unforgettable goal there. 1988, he gets the Western Soccer League MVP. He's a college All-American in 88 and 89. After retirement, he did go on to become an announcer and a coach for a while there. And I just want to finish with this quote that he has, and I really like this quote. It says, he said, "Passion can be the difference between a job and something you enjoy doing for a living." And I think that's a really great statement. There's so many people out there that don't like what they do, and it all comes down to the passion for what you're doing. So, Sean, this is another guy before your time, of course, but what are your thoughts on him?
So my thoughts on him, I kind of just brushed up on his resume, and because it's a player that doesn't just like pop into my head as far as like how long he played for, and I mean he's we talked about some of the things I liked in Eddie Pope, and really establishing, and some of the core thoughts of when you think of MLS and U.S. soccer. And I mean, he was a guy who was grinding before there was a real league. He was a guy playing for trying to get things going, and clearly showing his passion for the game before it was fully recognized by the country and in a nationally recognized league. So I mean that's a huge thing to not just do it when it's it's laid out for you. You kind of have to create your own path. And that's something he did. He created a path for himself, and he created a path for a lot of players after him.
Excellent. Let's move into our vote here tonight. We do have some honorable mentions, and that would be Jeff Agus. So he's our honorable mention tonight. Just missed our list. Can't vote for your own, guys. Paul, who are you taking?
Oh, look at me. That's who I'm taking. I just looked up your guy, Balboa. There's nobody else.
I told you he's got that look of Fabio there, man.
Look at him. That's my choice right here.
Brad, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Rolo's guy, Eddie Pope.
Pope. I was actually going to go Pope too. I remember Pope vividly, and he was the name for U.S. soccer. I mean, he was there after the Tony Meolas and the Lalases, but he was there before Dempsey and Donovan really took off, and he was the name. Pope was the name. I know there was a kid named Freddie Adu that was supposed to be the name, but it never worked out. So, it was definitely Pope. I'm going Pope. Rollo?
Go with Balboa, not Rocky.
This guy right here. See?
There you go. Sean, you're gonna stick with Carlos, or you're gonna pick another one?
Well, you put me in a sticky situation here. I'm the swing vote here. Really, just put me in a tough bind here.
Everybody knows it's Carlos, but this guy. So vote for your heart, but this guy is why it's going to be close. Just his looks.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish that I had that, and if I had those looks, then maybe I would be on some more of Louisville City's posters and advertising. I'm definitely don't have the looks of him, and that's something maybe I'm a little jealous of, and I don't know if I vote that way or I vote against it.
It's like a therapy session here.
Yeah. No, for me, I still have to go with Carlos just because of being able to see him up close and personal and having that connection to my hometown team. And then also he was, one of those first players who made that jump to recognize that American players could be successful outside of the United States.
So there's one for Carlos, two for Balboa, two for Pope. So this is like episode 125. This will be our first tie since probably some episode back in the 70s. So there you go. Fantastic. It's been a long time for a tie, but nice job,
There's
guys.
no tie, though. This is a guest. He should wait. He should outweight it.
Well, if he created a tie, what did that break?
My next vote, if we did ranked choice voting here, I don't know what tiebreakers are. My next one would be Balboa. But but
It's
then
fitting. It's a tie. It's a soccer thing, so
yeah.
leave it a tie.
There you go. Well, let's move into our Q&A for Sean. We'll go Rollo, Brad, Paul, and then me.
Sean, Gallup does a poll every year that they ask certain people what's their favorite sport. And back in 2010, soccer, U.S. soccer, was only 2%. This year, after the World Cup, it was 10%. Last year, what do you attribute that rise in popularity amongst the soccer for the U.S. now?
I just think more and more people realize what it's like going to some of the games. I think as far as fan experience, it's the best sport to go see, top level sport. One thing for me is, and we have a really good atmosphere here in Louisville, but everyone who comes to the game for the first time is like, I didn't realize this is what a soccer atmosphere is like. You're not being forced to chant defense for the team. It's a lot more organic. The fans are engaged. You have younger kids who are more engaged because of the amount of action and the sounds and the smells, the smoke bombs, everything going off is just like, it's a really good experience for fans that, in a lot of places they do it well, and it's organic. And I think that's a real reason why.
Brad.
Sean, you're in the USL. Is there a team that you look forward to playing against and a team that you do not look forward to playing against?
There's definitely teams that I don't necessarily look forward to playing against, but it's more so just because of the nature of our league. Anyone who's played in, I guess it's even in the MLS, is you play in United States, especially lower league United States, there's places away that the field conditions are not the greatest. So even in Louisville, we had a stretch and we won a USL championship on Louisville Slugger, the baseball stadium. And I know a lot of people didn't like coming there to play. So there's some pretty tough turf fields and a couple baseball fields that are just more so of the conditions than the actual teams themselves that I don't want to play against. And then there's teams that I look forward to playing against. I always look forward to playing against Tampa. They're, we've kind of gone back and forth, us and the Rowdies, on the Eastern Conference Championship over the last 5 years now. So there's just a lot of personal pride between the two teams. And, that's one that both of us, we mark on the calendar when the schedule comes out.
Okay, Sean, which one of Alexi Lalas's ideas on how to improve the game did you like the best? Was it the make the goals bigger? Was it the hockey penalty box maybe for penalties? Any one of these hitting you? Is that one of the comments you were referring to earlier?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if was he talking about bringing back the old MLS style kickoff or penalty kicks where you had like.
I know he got roasted for it, but he has a lot of weird, like offside only applies last 35 yards, kick in option, throw in option, 35-yard shootout. He got pretty roasted on it, but in all seriousness, did you like any of them?
I always thought that the shootout is kind of a fun one, like the 35-yard shootout. So I played 2 years of professional indoor soccer, and that's how the penalties are in if you're like a last man tackle, they'll do a shootout. And I always like those. So for me, it would be interesting. I don't think I would. So this last year I took a bunch of penalties and it helped me score a bunch of goals. I don't think I would be on those. So it would take away from my goal scoring, but ultimately, as far as entertainment, I think it'd be pretty cool to see that.
So you mentioned indoor. That actually goes perfectly with my first question. I wanted you to tell us about playing indoor, and you scored 21 goals in just a few seasons in indoor. That's a pretty good number. How does the game differ? like for our fans who aren't real familiar with soccer, I mean, I've seen both, of course, but how does it differ defensively?
Well, I mean, the big thing is it's, very similar to hockey as far as changes. So like you're on the field for, and a lot of them it's like actually in hockey rinks. So you're playing in a hockey rink, and then there's a section of the boards that are the goal taken out, and the goal is just built into the wall, and they lay down turf. So it's very similar. You're out there for a minute, 2 minutes, and then there's times too you can catch some player on changes that if you're a defender and you stay out there for too long and you don't change when it's your time because you're like, oh, I want to stay out here longer. Well, next thing you know, you're out there for 3 or 4 minutes straight, and the guy's fresh coming at you, and minute management is a factor in that you don't really have to think about in the outdoor game.
One more each, guys, same order.
Sean, you won 2 USL championships, right?
I've actually won 3.
3. Okay, so you won 3. So which one of those runs was more memorable for you? If you were to tell your story in 25 years to somebody, which one of those runs do you think would be more memorable?
Well, there's a clear choice, and there's reasons why, and it'll I don't think any of you guys will probably ever heard a story similar to this. So 2018, we won in Louisville. It was my second year in Louisville and our second year straight that we won. But so we started the season on a really good stretch. I want to say we won like the first 5 or 6 games straight. And our head coach at the time, James O'Connor, got an offer to go be the head coach for Orlando City. So he got the offer, and part of the offer was that he was going to take our whole staff with him. So he took our assistant coach and our goalie coach, which was our whole coaching staff, with him, and left. And then the team did not have a hire right away, and they didn't want to rush to hire someone else. So we actually went 6 weeks without a coach. And we had 3 players who were part of a triumvirate of coaching staff. So they were fully in charge of scouting teams. And I mean, everyone had to take up, more responsibility as far as like watching video and stuff. But there was 3 main players who were ultimately the decision makers on who made the starting lineup, who made the roster, who didn't. And they had to make those decisions about the team and themselves over 6 weeks. And I believe we went 4-1-1 over that time. And we actually lost to the Fire in the Open Cup during that stretch. And we actually had the last game of the triumvirate with no coaching staff. We had 2 of the coaches of our player coaches on the field, and the third one was on the bench, and he had just come back fully from injury, and he was kind of like the main bench coach because he was hurt at the time, and he had the opportunity to sub himself in. So he took off his tracksuit, subbed himself into the game, and our equipment manager took over as the coach for like the last 10 minutes of the game, and we mounted a comeback after going down 2-0, I believe, in the game, and ended up winning like 6-2. And then we hired John Hackworth, who came in, former U.S. Youth National Team coach, and we went on a good stretch, and ended up winning the USL Championship. But we went from a good start in the season, and then having no coaching staff for 6 weeks, and then a new coaching staff come in. And take all that in, and then ultimately win the whole championship at home at the end of the year was it sounds made up.
Go ahead, Brad.
Sean, you playing soccer for a long time. Who are your idols? Either before you were born or currently now. Who do you idol the most in the game of soccer?
it's one that kind of like, you go through. I feel like you can go through like personal phases of your game. Like there's certain aspects of other people's game that you kind of pick up and you like. There's times like more modern players that stand out more, and times in the past other players. I mean, one player that just kind of always super consistent, highest level, same position, same number, Sergio Ramos. He's a player who's as consistent as anyone else in the world, and both ends as well. Top-notch defender and consistently scores goals. He's a player for me that as far as consistency and high-level play, I don't think there's too many that can match that.
Okay, I'm going to give you a choice of questions. I was going to say or ask what you're proudest of in your career so far, but if you're uncomfortable because you're so humble and you don't want to answer that, then just tell me where I should visit in Fargo, North Dakota.
Well, honestly, I couldn't tell you too many places to visit in Fargo. I've actually spent very little time in Fargo. I was just born there, and then we actually have my mom's side of the family is all based out of North Dakota, and we actually have a family lake house up on the Canadian border in North Dakota, and that's my favorite place in the world to visit. It's a tiny little. It's not even really in a city. It's way up on the northern border of North Dakota in Canada, in the Turtle Mountains. So that's where I would say to visit, but it's nowhere near Fargo. So I would say what I'm proudest of. I think one of the biggest things for my career is just what the emotions that it's brought and the connections it's brought. And I just think one of the coolest moments for me, I had I have a video clip of it, but there was a game last year where, anyone who goes to the games in Louisville, you've probably met my dad because he's the #1 fan of the team. He wears a Papa Totsch jersey around the whole stadium and tries to introduce himself to every single person. But he's made a lot of friends at the games. So there's a game last year we were playing Orange County at home, and I had a penalty kick. I was able to step up, or we drew a penalty kick. Brian Ownby chopped a player in the box. I step up to take the penalty, and my dad, I didn't even know this at the time, and it's just after the video clip after that's so special to me. But I score the penalty and run to the corner and do my celebration and everything. But afterwards, I see this video of my dad on the capo stand, blaring, yelling through the megaphone, and a whole bunch of his friends embracing him, and like just the sounds and sights, and it's just raw emotion that you see. And really, like that's the coolest thing to me is what this game can mean to people, and not just anyone, but the people closest to me, when they can have those shared emotions, and how much it means for him and how much that means for me is just is a really cool moment for me.
So we'll get you out here with this. I'm going to make it a two-parter because I had a couple I wanted to ask, but 2011, Northern Illinois, your team makes the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's a big thing there. How was that experience in winning that first round game? And then my second question, this is something I've asked some other athletes that we've had on. You're 31 years old. That's, soccer-wise, that's a little bit older. How much longer do you think you can go, and what do you expect from Louisville this year?
So to answer the first question, 2011, It was a really special year. We didn't actually have, I mean, it was tough, in college soccer. It's so competitive that there's, so many teams that it's really tough to, be good consistently. So we had an incredible year. I actually late in the season went on a goal scoring stretch, scoring in the last regular season game, and then scoring a game winner in the MAC championship final to get us to the NCAA tournament. It was like an 85th minute header to put us through, and then scored the first goal in that first round game. And then, I mean, so that was just really, a really special, kind of stretch there. And all that kind of happened so quick in college soccer because, you're playing a lot of like Friday, Sundays and Wednesday, Saturdays. So, the season's so fast and so quick that it's almost like a blur, like a blink because the season's so condensed. And then remind you your second question.
So you're 31 years old. How much longer you think you'll be able to go?
Okay, so I don't necessarily know. I try not to put a time limit on it or a number really. I have had some knee injuries in the past that just kind of give some residual knee pain. So, it's just something to factor in. It's like, everyone kind of picks up their knocks and everything. So it's, I don't know, this is my 9th season and I have a contract for next year and it'll be my 10th year. So, that's a good stretch there. But, I really try not to, factor it too much. And, I'm not quite sure, but I mean, we have a really good team this year, and I'm super excited. We returned 20 of 24 players, added a couple of really good players. So I mean, we're a dangerous team, and we have a lot of good pieces. I mean, we have it's crazy when we have our inter squad games, and you're like, this is two playoff starting 11s right here. So it's credit to the team that we've built here and the culture that we have.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean, for joining us tonight. We appreciate you coming on.
It looks like you have the video queued up there behind you.
Papa Totsch is behind me. Look at him. Too bad I can't play it. I had to hurry up while you were telling that story and find it because I wanted to see it. And I found a TikTok of him. He's a TikTok star. And they got the Papa Totsch celebration after you score the goal.
Yeah.
So we don't have the budget here, but
okay. Well, when you when you get a chance to watch it, and if you get the audio, there's like some bagpipes playing in the background, and then one of my favorite moments, there's one of his friends comes up to him and is pointing and banging on his chest with their finger and says, "That's you. That's you." So like
I
you
didn't
just
get to
hear
that part.
and then you just like the pure joy, emotion, like it. That's like soccer and sport, just sport in its purest form. And really, that's my favorite thing about any sport, and soccer in particular, is the raw emotion it brings out. And that's why I always want to be around and have sport involved in my life in some aspect, because of these pure raw emotions that they bring out of us.
Yeah, it was a much better ending, Mike, rather than you say, "Hey, when are you going to retire? When are you going to quit?" Come on, man. What a downer. Why don't you ask Brady?
Oh, yeah, you're getting pretty old, huh?
Yeah. Hey, man,
well,
you're getting pretty old. When are you leaving?
I asked Kyle Gregg that, and he said he wasn't sure, and then he ended up retiring at the end of the season there. So you just never know. That's why I was wondering. But I want to remind everybody, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.